Right, howdy everybody, welcome to Russell Heritage Golf. Today we are going to be taking a look at my golf swing from a face-on perspective. I'm going to hit a sand wedge, hit an 8-iron, fairway wood and a driver. I kind of would class myself as somebody who has a fairly traditional golf swing when it comes to when we look at professional golf swings. A little bit of background, when I was amateur, so we're going like a decade ago, slightly more, I was a +3 handicap golfer, played to a really decent sort of level as an amateur golfer, turned professional, and just ended up going more down the coaching route than playing essentially. But you know, got myself to a decent level as a golfer, and that's kind of the thing that's really inspired me when it comes to golf coaching, has been to try and learn from some of the mistakes that I basically made, whether it was things like trying to change my swing to try and improve my game, or you know, just some of the mental stuff that I'm going to be talking a lot about when I can get back out of this sort of lockdown onto the golf course and start to shed some sort of light of some of the things that I've learned from some of my mistakes. But I thought we'd have a look at some face-on swings. And what I've done recently on the channel is that we've been talking a lot about the first move in the golf swing, the transition, this sort of falling in, recentering, the release. And I just thought it was an opportunity to have a little look at my golf swing, just to give it some sort of context as to basically where we're at. So if we kind of get started, this is my 58 degree lofted club. So obviously using this club is not going to be trying to hit the ball very far. So I'm looking for control with this type of swing. So that we can kind of see in the setup position, handle slightly ahead of the club head as we take the club back. Pretty traditional in terms of the first move, not a huge amount, or if any really, should we say, linear motion in the backswing position. So we can see the way that I stay very, very centralized, swing my arms up, and then as I start to come down, still a fairly traditional pivoting action. So we'll come into this in some of the longer clubs, but what we can kind of see from here is that if I pause at left arm horizontal, there's not like a lot of lagging motion, which is the relationship between the left arm and the shaft. And that's because we don't need to, right? We want width when it comes to pitching. We don't want loads of lags. We're not looking for distance. So it's almost like I'm kind of throwing the club down towards the side of me. Hands still end up ahead of the club head to control the low point coming in towards that hitting area, and then the sort of release as we swing through. So another feature that we'll notice is my left leg still stays in a state of flex, coming in towards this post-impact position, which again isn't uncommon, and that will potentially change with some of the longer clubs, but essentially something that I'm looking for with an element of control. Now, this is being filmed at 240 frames per second, so that's about the best I can get with the current lighting that we've got. So without more lighting, it's difficult to improve that sort of shutter speed. This is an 8-iron. Now, what I would say is that this is me kind of trying to suggest that I'm trying to get the capacity out of the 8-iron. So the biggest difference is that we can kind of see in this first move here, you can see that sort of subtle linear motion. So if I kind of place a line against my right hip, you can see the way I shift my weight much more early in that first move, much more so. That's not uncommon. Again, that's a common tendency amongst many professional golfers. So it's like I'm shifting weight early in towards the right, and then by the time you can kind of see now, by the time I'm just approaching left arm horizontal, you can see the way that I keep the pelvis downward facing, but I recenter myself back over the ball, which essentially means you can see the way my right hip is working its way back in towards the center of my stance as I complete the top of the backswing position. So that's kind of like recentering as I swing up. Again, we're focusing from face on, so we can see the way that the right leg stays in a state of flex, and then what we can see in the transition is the way that I introduce enough linear motion. Okay, so there's an element of linear motion here to re-establish, if I was to draw a line roughly through my lead ankle up, this sort of position. So what we don't want to do is we don't want the left hip surpassing the left ankle excessively, right, roughly sort of this line coming in towards that hitting area, because otherwise that would be kind of categorized as too slidey. So we can see the way that I recenter in the backswing. There's a small amount of linear as we start this sort of transition. Now, the transition is a really big thing. And what I'm kind of saying in my golf swing is if we pause again and when the club is sort of horizontally placed, is as I swing up towards the top to complete the backswing position, the way the weight is obviously on the right. And even as I'm now, even in this position, even though there's an element of linear towards the left, at this stage still the majority of the weight would be on the right hand side. It's not until now where the weight would start to strongly re-establish itself back in towards the left. Now we can see there's a difference now in terms of that lag relationship as well. Because I'm going for more distance, we can see the way that there's more lag, and that's because that sort of pivoting action and the intention of driving, shall we say, my hands more directly towards the ball is helping create this lag and more speed. Little bit more of a straightening in the left leg compared to the iron. Still very similar in terms of the nature of getting the hands ahead of the club head. Like I say, 240 frames is about the maximum I can speed in this light, and then the release in the through swing. Now we see the same sort of characteristical traits even using the fairway wood. So one of the things that I would note is there's an element of camera distortion here as well, but I am somebody, because the ball position is going to be relative to each individual dependent on your delivery. So because I'm somebody who has the hands, shall we just say, further forward, I prefer to have the ball position further forward pretty much through all clubs. But ball position is not necessarily a constant thing for every individual. Now, we're going to see the same sort of thing. A shift towards the right hand side, a recentering as we get up towards the top, a holding onto lag nature coming in towards the hit, and then again, hands back forward coming in towards that impact area. Now finally, looking at the driver. The biggest difference really with the driver now would be the setup, so I'd be more tilted. So the shoulders would have more tilt in that address position to try and help, shall we say, just shallow out that hit. In the backswing position, still shift. Oh, a little bit of a trigger, and I think I was slightly distracted with them in there. So slight little shift. Right, we got there. Slight little shift. Swing up towards the top and then recenter. And then as I come down. But now for the first time we can see the differences that address position has caused. That if I draw a line vertically through the lead ankle, we can see the way the shoulder now stays back, because this helps rise and create that sort of shallowing motion. And what we can also see is the way the left leg starts to straighten more. So although the hands end up with an element of forward lean, we can still see that shallowing characteristics would be created very much through the setup position, and then there's much more of a straightening on that left leg. So they're very, very different movements essentially in the golf swing. So we could kind of, as we recap, see the difference between the sand wedge was like stay very, very centered and have more of a feeling of width, which we'll come back to. As soon as then I start to talk more about creating distance in the golf swing, that's when it kind of changes. So that's when there was much more sort of, should we say, linear motion in the swing, and much more sort of driving the hands more directly to the ball to create more lag. So from the face-on perspective, the key things to take out of it was the subtle differences in the movement, the subtle differences in the setup, especially when we went to driver, but kind of more importantly, you can see the way nothing drastically changed amongst the clubs, and the way there was an element of continuity there. So a little bit of kind of changing in ball position from sand wedge to 8-iron to fairway wood to driver, and a little bit kind of like a change in the driver setup. But apart from that, it was pretty much the same sort of thing that we could see in terms of how everything was being delivered to get an element of consistency. So hopefully this video just helps put an element of context into some of the things that I talk about on the channel, from the early bump in the backswing position to the recentering fall in, to keeping the pelvis downward facing, to keeping flexion in that trail leg, to the transition, which we'll come back to when we look at my swing from more a side-on perspective in more detail. And I'm basically just going to kind of move the camera angles around and just kind of have a look at my swing over these next couple of weeks or next week on the channel. So if there's anything that you'd like to see or for me to discuss a little bit more, then drop it in that comments box below. But hopefully you enjoy the video. Always appreciate a thumbs up and a like, and I'll catch up with you guys soon.